Okay, hello and welcome to Origami Studio, a design prototyping tool built and used by employees at Facebook. My name is Jonathan Hammonds. I'm a product designer on the design tools team, and I'm going to run you through a quick exercise of using Origami with data. Now, this example exercise is going to look like this at the end. We're going to use some iOS components like the status bar, the nav bar. We're going to set up a grid view of iTunes data imagery and a video. We're going to set up a little tab bar at the bottom there. And we're going to set up a one instance click through like so. Right, without further ado, let's crack on. So the first thing I want you to do is go to origami.design. And here you can download our free tool. And once you downloaded that and installed, I want you to go to the exercise files that you've downloaded. I want you to open up the starter file. Now, what you should see is the Origami UI. Now, to help with terminology, I'm just going to run through some of the names of these panels. To start off with, we've set this document up to be an iPhone 11 Pro. We have one document component, which is your media component, which will pull in data from the iTunes API. Below that, you have what we call the layer list. On the other side, these are the properties of this layer that's selected. We call this panel the inspector. In the center here, we have the canvas. We have the document component set up, and we have an artboard below that. Now, this window here is how we interact with our prototype. And we call this the viewer. All right. So to go straight in, building this prototype, first thing I want to introduce you to is what we call the layer library. Now, in the top left, next to your device selection, you have a plus button. I want you to click on that. And I want you to bring up the layer library by clicking on the contextual menu item here. This will bring up a popover, which is our layer library. The first layer selected is this local document component called media. The other stock components you'll see we have images, we have videos, we have powerful components like Apple Maps, we have live feeds, we have particle systems. And because we're working in an iPhone 11 iOS device, we also have some iOS prefabs. And we're going to start by inserting a few of these. So in this layer library, I want you to type in status. And that will bring up the status bar item. Next, I want you to click on this place layer button. What you should see now is a status bar inserted into your artboard. Now, the magic of Origami is our components are clever. They're not just simple layers. They have mechanics behind them, functionality. So this status bar is showing us the real time of the device. You run it on your desktop, you have desktop time, and of course on the device itself, you will have the device time. Now to continue on, I want you to go back to that layer library. So again, the plus button, click on layer library. And now I want you to insert a navigation bar, which you can do by double clicking on the components rather than clicking place layer. I now want to use the shortcut key, which is Command Enter, just to speed things up here. And we're going to add a tab bar component. I'm going to speed up here by pressing return. Now in our layer list, you see they got jumbled up a little bit, so we're just going to do some rearranging. Like any design tool, we can move the layers up and down by clicking and dragging and position at the top of the hierarchy. Now I want to position the status bar and the tab bar at the top outside of the artboard. Now the reason for this is because I want to have multiple artboards and I want these artboards to both have the status bar and the tab bar. I do not want them contained in the nested artboard itself. So once you've done that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the artboard by clicking on the artboard, and then I'm going to press Command Return again to enter the layer list, layer library, and I'm going to type group this time, and then I'm going to hit Return. I'm going to rearrange the navigation bar to be above the group. Then I'm going to click on the group here. I'm going to go down to this bottom anchor point and just drag horizontally up. I'm actually going to position it perfectly at the bottom of the artboard. Right, now that we have the group selected, I'm going to go back into the layer library. So again, Command Return. And now I'm going to add this media component. Now this media component is quite special. We haven't shared it publicly, so you're one of the first people to use this. It's a data component, and what it will do is pull in any information we want from the iTunes API. So that's any item that's available in the iTunes store. What you'll see here is it has its own properties. And as the search entry is empty, what it's actually doing is it's calling upon a random top 100 movie, or actually from all the categories. It's calling in a random top 100 from all the categories. Now, I think what's going to happen, because we're around Halloween, because we're working with data, we're going to get a lot of Halloween content. Now, this is exactly why we design with data. It's the idea of validating. It's the idea of not having perfect designed imagery. It's the idea of throwing in randomness. And I think we're going to get this. So to continue on, I want you to select the media layer and then press Command C to copy it and then Command V to paste it. You can also duplicate layers by selecting them and Alt dragging down. What I'm going to do is I actually want 6 of these, so I'm going to select those 3, Command C and then Command V to insert 6 of them. And as I thought, more Halloween stuff. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay these out a little bit. I'm going to use the automated layout system in Origami. And that can be found on most layers. On the group, what we need to do is we need to go into the property, find the layout category, and then we need to turn on layout. So we're going to select this boolean and tick it. Next, I'm going to change the direction from vertical to grid. I'm going to align this so it's top center. I'm going to put 10 points in for horizontal spacing and 10 points for vertical spacing. And then I'm actually going to give it a 10 points top margin as well. Now, what we want to do is we want to select all the media layers, and I'm just going to do a bit of resizing here in the inspector itself. So I'm going to select the size width property, I'm going to click, and then I'm going to hold down click, and I'm going to drag to the left. This will resize my content. Now I'm going to keep resizing until I get the grid snap. I'm then going to move on to the H size of the height, of the size height. And again, I'm going to click and I'm going to drag to the left to adjust the properties until I'm happy with a fit. I think we're good there. So the values we can tie it up, so that's 170 by 250. Now, while we're tidying things up, I'm also going to touch on this navigation bar. So I'm going to select inside Canvas the navigation bar, which brings up its own properties. I'm going to select title, and I'm going to click delete to get rid of the title, and type in movies. I'm going to go to the left action category and delete left. I think in the right action, I'm going to put in a search. Next, let's tidy up the navigation bar. What I'm going to do now actually is I'm going to close the viewer because we don't really need it right now. We're inside Canvas. We don't need to interact with anything. So I'm just going to close it by clicking on the X. I've selected the tab bar. We have lots of properties here. First one I'm going to change is the number of tabs. I'm going to change that from 5 to 1. You'll see our component updates. I'm then going to go into the example folder, the exercise folder, select assets, icons, and I'm going to select the movie PNG and add that to the tab 1 icon. I'm also going to select the movie active PNG, and I'm going to drag that over to the icon selected. Now we come back to Origami, and you can see that the icon has been updated. I'm going to change the title to movies. Now, I'm also noticing that I want to get a nice rounded corner on each of these edges. So we're going to adjust the radius on this media layers. So I'm going to select them all. And then I'm just going to change each left, top, right, and bottom to be 10. You can see now that we have a nice curve on each edge. Right. Now I think it's time for some interaction. I'm a little bit worried about the content, so I might actually change Ghostbusters. I might change that to something a little bit more PG. So finding emo. I'm going to make sure the category is movie as well. But feel free to play around with all these different categories if you've got time. Now, our intention here is to, when we touch on the Finding Nemo media layer, we want to present another screen. Then we're going to dismiss that screen. So what we need to do is we need to add another artboard. This can be done, again, by going to the plus icon in the top left and selecting artboard. This will pan canvas to the right and insert a new artboard for you to work in. Now I'm going to position my status bar above this artboard because I want it in both the artboards. And just so we can talk better, I'm going to rename this artboard. So to do that, I'm just going to double click and then I'm going to call it preview. Now again, we're going to add a few components here. So I'm going to select the preview artboards by either in the layer list or directly in Canvas. I'm going to press Command Return. I'm going to add another navbar, and I'm also going to add what's called a video stream layer. Now this is going to focus on a URL which our media components can provide. So I'm going to insert that video stream layer. I think I'm going to have, after that, a text layer. So I'm putting in a text layer there. Now I'm going to rearrange these components a little bit. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on layout again for this artboard. So if I go over to the inspector, again, we can select layout and we can turn on that boolean. Vertical is good. And now that we can see our components are arranged in a resolute positioning way, which we like. It's good. Just to explain that a little bit more, actually, if we turned off layout, what you can do is obviously you'll be able to move these components around in what we call an absolute position. Now, what layout actually does is what you expect. It lays it out, stacks things on top of each other. Let's try to be clever there and put 99 spacing, which you don't want, so I'm going to turn that to 0. Right, just a little bit more tidy up. I want the text below the video stream there, and I'm also going to align the artboard layout to be centered, top center. Okay, it's looking a lot nicer. I've selected the text layer, so I might as well just adjust the size there. Looks like we need to change the size. We can fit that to auto. That means it will fit to the child. So the frame per se was scaled depending on the content. So change that to auto. Now, how about we change navigation bar a little bit? So I'm going to untick large title. I'm going to change the title to preview. I'm going to remove the left text label. No, sorry, I'm not going to remove it. I'm going to make it say back. I'm going to add a little back arrow there as well. I'm going to remove the right though. I don't think we need that. Now, what we're going to set up now is what we call a quick interaction, which will allow us to do a single instance click through. So we're just going to click on this Finding Nemo media layer, and that's going to present this artboard. And it's going to present it in what we call a push style. To do this, I want you to select this artboard. I then want you to hold down Command for what we call a deep select, so we can select the first media in the group. And then I'm going to go up to the top left. Next to our plus button, we have a lightning bolt. Now, if we click on that, it will set up this nice little spaghetti cable. And we're going to use that, and we're going to click on the preview artboard. Now, this brings up some settings. What it's saying is, how do you want to interact? And we just want to tap for this. And we want to present the artboard. So I'm going to now add that interaction. You'll see a little toast appears here. We're going to mention that in a bit. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to select the nav bar on the preview artboard. And then I'm going to use a shortcut key here. So rather than clicking on the lightning bolt, I'm just going to hold down Control and I'm going to drag down. I'm then going to release my mouse click. And Origami has been clever and it's decided we would like a tap interaction, which we do. And we would also like to dismiss that the artboard because we've already presented it. So again, I'm going to click Add, and we will get that toast at the bottom again. Now that we set up an interaction, it's probably a good time to bring back our viewer. So I'm going to go to the top bar, taskbar, and I'm going to select this Toggle Viewer button. This brings back our viewer. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger by dragging the bottom right corner. And then what we're going to do is we're going to simply click on this Finding Nemo button. And it presents our artboard as expected. We're also then going to click on the nav bar, and it will dismiss our artboard in a push transition. I'm going to pause a little bit because I'm losing my voice, so I'm going to have a little sip. Excuse me. Right, now that we've set up this artboard, let's populate it with some data. Now these components, they have what's called outputs. And you've probably noticed this plus button that appears on the edge of our components, our layers. And we're going to click on it now. I'm just going to see what it produces. So it sets up with some interactions, which we don't need, some properties. But what I'm interested in is these outputs. And I want this preview URL. Okay. So I'm just going to click on it for now. And now I'm going to set you up for the other half of Origami. Right now we're looking at canvas view. So this is what you expect from a design tool, moving layers around using your mouse on a canvas. Now the way that we do interactions, functionality, and logic, we use a node-based language. And this node-based language you can access in Origami by entering the patch graph. Now in the taskbar, you'll see a little button here which says patch graph. Let's click on that now. And you'll see something that we call patches. Now they're a little bit jumbled up at the moment, so I'm just going to click and drag these out to space them. I'm going to remove the viewer again just for some space. And what we have here is one, the interaction that we set up earlier on. So when we click on the media group, whenever a tap is set up, you present the artboard. And then the same, whenever we click on the navigation bar of the preview artboards, whenever it taps, it dismisses. Now the great thing about all this is we have no compiling code, we have no runtimes here. This is all in real time. So if we show the viewer, and then if we focus on this area here, so the tap output port of this patch, you'll see that it will flash as soon as I click on the Finding Nemo media layer, like so. And again, you'll see that this tap will then fire a pulse along this cable to the dismiss pulse on the artboard. So I'm going to click back, and there you are. See it fired off. If you ever want to see what layers these patches are associated with, just double click on their icon and it will highlight them in the layer list. Same with what we call renderer patches, which are the blue ones. Double click on the icon and it will show you that we're interacting with this artboard. Now, I'm going to enter split screen mode. So I'm going to go up to the top of the artboard here, and I'm just going to click and drag down. This will reveal canvas, and I'm just going to bring it down to halfway so we can see both canvas and the patch graph. Now, I'm going to show you that output one more time actually. I'm going to delete this patch. I'm going to select Nemo. I'm going to click on the plus, select the output, preview URL, And you're going to see that I inserted this patch. Now this gives us a URL. And on our video stream, we have a property for a URL. So what we need to do is connect this URL to this property. You can do this a few ways. One, you can click on the ports like so. You can either click and drag into the actual canvas and then select the URL property, which I'm not going to do. Or you can click and then you can just click on the plus icon on the inspector like so. Or you can click and just drag the cable to the plus icon, which we're going to do now. And voila, we've got a preview video of Finding Nemo. This is actually the trailer. I'm just going to do some resizing here. So I'm going to change the size. I'm going to grow it to the artboard. So that means it's going to fill the parent, and the parent is the artboard, so it's going to be 375 points. I'm also going to change the fill style from fill to fit, so we get the proper aspect ratio there. Now, like we did before, I'm just going to pause a moment actually. Like we did before, I'm going to select the media. I click on the plus, and this time I'm going to want the name output of the media. So I'm going to click on that output. This inserts a patch. And then again, I want to connect it to this text layer. So I'm going to click on the port. I'm going to click on the layer to bring up the inspector. Then I'm going to click on the port. And I'm just going to drag this over to the text input, like so. Now there's a lot going on there, so feel free to pause and go back. But if we go back to our viewer, in fact, we could probably go full screen now. So I'm going to click on the green button here. This brings up full screen viewer. You can press Option D to show the frame. You can press Option H to show some hands. And now I'm just going to click on Finding Nemo. And there we go, the trailer playing. At any time now, I can just go back to that component media and I can delete the search entry. And I can change that to, well, let's go with Ghostbusters. And now if I go back to the viewer, you'll see that it's updated. And of course, now we're seeing the Ghostbusters trailer. Great. I'm going to minimize this down. Oh, the last thing is I'm going to introduce you to a splitter patch. So we have a input patch here, we have a provider patch, we have a renderer patch. I'm going to introduce a switch patch. Now, like the layer library, you can bring up a patch library. If you double click on the patch library, it will bring up this library. So now I want to type in switch. And like the title, this is just an on and off light switch kind of thing. It allows you to flip the switch on and off, turn it off, or turn it on. And what we're going to use that for is we're going to, whenever we click on the nav bar here, I want to do a tap interaction. So I'm going to go to the layer list. Over here, I'm going to click on plus, then I'm going to select tap. This inserts an interaction patch. I'm going to use the tap output. I'm going to drag, click into the flip input port. I'm going to quickly test it in the viewer. So I'm just going to click there, and I can see that this switch is turning on and off. And I'm going to use that to show the search. So I'm going to click on the output port, and I'm going to drag that to the show search property in the inspector. And now whenever we click, we can show and reveal a nice little text field ready for some text input. Okay, I think we're good here. So just an overcap. Here's the patches that we created. Here's the layers that we created. All that's left really is to send this prototype to your mobile. And we can do that by using the Origami Live app. So if I now switch to my iPhone, you'll see at the bottom here I have the Origami app, and I did that by searching in the App Store for Origami Live. Get that. I'm going to open it. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to send this prototype to Origami Live. And there's many ways you can do that. If you're synced up with a cable, you can just click this export button. You can also mirror. But I'm just going to use AirDrop for now. So click on AirDrop. So sorry, just to focus a little bit more on what I did there. I went up to the taskbar and I clicked on the share button and then selected AirDrop. I'm going to open my iPhone. Oh, it's not recognizing my face. Okay. There we go, my iPhone's appeared. So I'm going to click on iPhone, and you'll see that it appears on my iPhone. Select Origami, and now we have our prototype running on device. I think we're good there. Okay, guys, so I hope that kind of excited you about origami and prototyping. We rushed through that, so I don't expect you to completely follow everything. But if you do want to find out more information, please go to origami.design and go through our learning content found on our website and check out the examples. There are some that we use at Facebook, that we created at Facebook rather. Okay, all the best. Have fun with the conference and happy prototyping. Bye.